this video real quick. Okay, it looks like a highway. You can see people are on their bikes. It's in the middle of the night. I don't know what they were doing at 2 a.m. Imagine a bomb going off near your house. That would be scary. Anyway, that was the attack, and that happened in 9 places in Pakistan. All those 9 places identified as terrorist hubs, terrorist infrastructure, places where terrorists get trained, sort of like a terrorist college or school. And I hear like those places like send out like 1,000 terrorists a year. Like they graduate from those places. Not really sure how far that's the truth, but that's what I hear. Anyway, so let's just read this article. Islamabad, Pakistan. This is Al Jazeera, by the way. Parts of Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir were rocked by multiple missile attacks by India early on Wednesday morning, in which at least 8 people, including a 3-year-old child, died. If that's the case, I really feel sorry. That shouldn't happen. But we really don't know if that's the truth. I don't think the Indian media are reporting this, so we really don't know if this is the truth. But what we know for sure is India did retaliate and attack 9 places. Pakistan's military said Indian missile struck 6 cities, and that included 4 different places in Punjab. There is a Punjab in Pakistan as well. The first time that India has hit Pakistan's most populous state since the 1971 war. I wasn't even born at that time. So the remaining 2 places targeted were Muzaffarabad, Kotli, both in Pakistan-administered Kashmir. So that's what Al Jazeera says. Let's look at why this operation was named Sindoor. If you know, Sindoor is actually the name of the vermilion that married women put on their foreheads. So the name Operation Sindoor is heavy with symbolism. Hindu women put Sindoor, meaning vermilion, on their head as a symbol of marriage. The Pahalgam terror attack, in which 26 innocents were killed in cold-blooded, destroyed as many families. The victims were rounded up, asked their religion, and shot dead. That's the most disgusting part of this. The terrorists asked the tourists what their religion was, and if they were Muslim, they were let go and escape, but if they were Hindus, they were shot then and there and killed. That's just disgusting. It's therefore fitting that the operation to avenge their deaths is named Sindoor. How about that? So that's why it's named Sindoor. As an Indian, I really feel powerful and proud after knowing this. So let's also see how the world leaders reacted to Operation Sindoor. I actually have a video, Donald Trump. Let me just see if we can find that. Yep, here we go.
No, it's a shame. We just heard about it just as we were walking in the doors of the Oval. Just heard about it. I guess people knew something was going to happen based on a little bit of the past. They've been fighting for a long time. You know, they've been fighting for many decades and centuries, actually, if you really think about it.
Centuries? We've been fighting for centuries, really? I don't know. He knows his history, but yeah, it's not centuries. We became sovereign nations only in 1947. So that's like 70 odd years, not centuries. Anyway, that's what Donald Trump said. Let's see if we can get some other person's opinion. Israel's ambassador to India, Reuven Azar, said the Jewish nation backed in New Delhi's right to self-defense. I think Israel has been kind of an ally to India, so this is expected. Terrorists should know there is no place to hide from their heinous crimes against the innocent. Hashtag Operation Sindoor. And what did the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, what did he say? He expressed concern about the Indian strikes and called for maximum military restraint. I think they're kind of neutral, so they have to say that, so I can understand why he said that. But look at what China said. China, I really don't like China, how they operate, but let's see what they say. China described India's military operations in Pakistan and POK as regrettable. Really? After what happened on 22nd April? If that's what happened in your country, would you do the same, or you'll just sit quiet and watch what happens? Regrettable? That's rich. Okay, and said it was concerned about the ongoing situation. Beijing urged New Delhi and Islamabad to exercise restraint and refrain from taking actions. China finds India's military operation early this morning regrettable. We are concerned about the ongoing situation. We urge both sides to act in the larger interest of peace and stability, remain calm, exercise restraint, and refrain from taking actions that may further complicate the situation. Yeah, China thinks they can give us instruction and advice. For all we know, this terror attack on 22nd April might have been China's plan. Yeah, we don't know. I don't know that for sure. But that's actually a plausible theory. Why do I say that? Why do I think China might have a hand in the terror attack? If you've been watching the geopolitics closely, especially after Donald Trump took over as the US president, he has been slapping tariffs on pretty much every nation in the world, including China especially, actually. It's a large tariff, more than 100% tariff slapped on China's products. But China is the major manufacturer of US goods. So what happens? Apple, most of the iPhones come from China. Apple produces its iPhones in China. So what did Apple do after the tariff? This is what Apple did. Apple posts stronger than expected Q2 results, says majority of the US phones sold will now come from India. So majority of the iPhones that are going to be sold in US are going to be manufactured in India. Do you think China will like that? Not at all. So what will they do? Will they just sit and watch quietly? They may try to tarnish the image of India in the global stage. So what do they probably call Pakistan? Hey buddy, this is what's going on. I don't really like that. We need to do something. I'll give you some money. Send some terrorists, shoot some people. Let's unsettle India, make the investors become skeptical or become fearful of investing in India, thereby gaining the advantage over India. So that is actually a plausible theory. We don't know if that's what's happening. There's no way to prove it. Only China would know. Probably Pakistan. If that's the case, it's really terrible, and China is saying India's action is regrettable. So that's the big picture stuff. We need to look at it from all the angles, not just what the media is reporting. They just report the terrorists came, shot people, and India retaliated. But what's going on in the background? We need to know that. At least try to guess what's happening. That's one theory, China. But there's also another angle. If you know the United States of America has been funding Pakistan for their military, strengthening their military in the disguise of counterterrorism. I don't really know if that's what the US is trying to do, but over a period of time, USA has noticed that Pakistan has a lot of corruption. All their money is not spent on counterterrorism. Still, terrorists are being harbored in Pakistan. The world knows that Pakistan is the terrorist capital of the world. Even Osama bin Laden was harbored in Pakistan. I think the name of the place was Abbottabad or something like that. So the US saw this, and after Trump took over, this is what happened. So why Pakistan supports terrorist groups and why the US finds it so hard to induce change. The Trump administration decision to suspend military aid to Pakistan is one of the most significant US punitive actions against Pakistan since 2001. So now Pakistan, do you think they will like this, suspending the military aid from US? They're not going to like it. Obviously not going to like it. If you know, there is a saying, every country has an army, but the Pakistan army has a country. I hope you understand what that means. So the country is actually run by the military. The military has a very strong influence on the politicians. There have been coups in the past where the prime minister has been overthrown and the military took control. So even now, what I understand is the military has a huge influence on politicians. There is also a lot of corruption in the military and in the government. There's corruption everywhere in the world. Even in India, it's there. But in Pakistan, it's really huge. One of the reasons why the country is still lagging behind, although we both got independence at the same time. Anyway, the point is, there's a lot of corruption going on in Pakistan, military especially, and the military aid from US is being suspended, so they're not going to get money. So what do? They plan an attack on India. They know very well that India is going to retaliate. So what do? Now they have to strengthen the military, so that means they can justify that in their parliament and ask for more money and more budget, so that the military generals can get more money into their pockets. So they send terrorists, they shoot some people from India. India gets angry. India retaliates, strikes back at Pakistan. Now they have a cause, an argument to make that they have to strengthen their military and they need more money. So that's another theory why this Pahalgam attack might have happened. So we need to look at the bigger picture. It could have been China and as well as Pakistan's plan to set this up. But this is not just the first time this has happened. Such attacks and retaliations have happened in the past. If you remember, some of you might be old enough to remember the Kargil war. It happened in 1999. So how did it happen? While India and Pakistan had tested nuclear weapons a year earlier, the hostile neighbors signed the Lahore Agreement to prevent a war. But Pakistan just signed the agreement and then went on with intrusion along the border. So army soldiers were tipped off in the first week of May by some local shepherds of suspicious activity in the Indian side, which also included the Kargil region. The armed men included both terrorists and Pakistani soldiers. Under Operation Badr, the infiltrators wanted to force their way and capture Kargil. So India retaliated. Obviously, it was a big war. Most of you might remember. So we kind of won that war. But Pakistan media might say Pakistan won that war. Anyway, the point is Pakistan started it, India retaliated in 1999. Now, that's the first instance that we remember. Now, fast forward to 2016, there was another strike along the line of control, LOC, and India had to retaliate again. And if you remember the famous Uri strike, there was a movie made out of this. So that's 2016. Pakistan started it, we retaliated. And in 2019, again, the sad news was a shocking news. The 2019 Pulawama attack, I think 40 CRPF soldiers were killed in an explosion. And we again retaliated with some surgical strikes. So this has been happening for decades. Pakistan strikes, we retaliate. Pakistan strikes, we retaliate. 2025 again this has happened. So we'll just hope that this ends here. We don't know if this is going to become a full-blown war. I hope not, but it depends on what Pakistan thinks and how they respond. If you look at what Pakistan's Prime Minister said, so this is what the Pakistan's Prime Minister's office has said. Pakistan reserves the right to respond in self-defense at a time, place and manner of its choosing to avenge the loss of innocent Pakistani lives in blatant violation of its sovereignty. Yeah, that's what you will say. The armed forces of Pakistan have duly been authorized to undertake corresponding actions in this regard. Pakistan remains committed to peace with the dignity and honor. I don't really committed to peace, bro. Reiterates that it shall never allow any violation of its sovereignty. Well, you should follow that first. Well, that's what the Pakistan Prime Minister has said. I also read what the Pakistan Defense Minister said about Operation Sindoor. Let me just pull up the news real quick. Yep, this is what the Pakistan's Defense Minister has said. Will refrain from any action if India will refrain from any action if India avoids any further action. So the Pakistan Defense Minister is saying, let's call it an end and then move on with our lives. It looks like he doesn't want to retaliate for Operation Sindoor, but the Prime Minister's office seems to be saying something else. I don't know if I missed something, but this is what the Defense Minister of Pakistan said. So they are going to back down if India doesn't do any other damage. I hope that's what's going to happen unless there are some other terrorist infrastructure that we need to destroy. If that's the case, go ahead. I think India must go ahead. If everything has been controlled and there is not going to be any other attack, I think it's time to move on. That being said, I'm not saying we need to back down. If there are going to be any other retaliation from Pakistan, we need to retaliate and fight back. After all, they started it. Anyway, so that's what happened, and we need to keep an eye on what's happening, whether this will escalate or de-escalate. It's anybody's guess, but I really hope it ends here and for the safety of both the countries' citizens, because we cannot prosper if there is war going on. We can see what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in Ukraine. Decades of progress can be destroyed in a few days or months. So we don't want that. You and I are sitting here discussing in the comfort of our home and safety of our home, only because our armed soldiers are guarding our borders. A big salute to them. And we'll just keep an eye on what happens. But for today, Jai Hind. See you guys in the next one.